Welcome back to the deep dive. So today, I want to start with a little mental exercise.
Yeah.
I want you to just, close your eyes and picture Santa Claus, the very first image that hits your brain.
Oh, I can guess what it is. It's the Coca-Cola ad, right?
It has to be.
The bright red suit, rosy cheeks, the mall in December, all the jingling bells. It's loud, it's colorful, and it's absolutely everywhere.
Exactly. It's the wrapping paper version. It's so glossy.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a stack of research today, specifically this really fascinating article called The Winter Architect,
Yeah.
The Evolution of a Legend. And it argues something pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests that if you peel off all that wrapping paper, the thing underneath isn't a commercial mascot. It's a shadow.
A shadow moving through winter stories. I mean, that's the phrase from the text that just really stuck with me.
It's kind of haunting, right?
It is, and it really sets the stage for what we're doing today. We're
Yeah.
not just talking about a holiday figure.
Yeah.
We are tracing the evolution of what's basically a psychological necessity. We're going to look at how a 4th century bishop from Turkey, of all places, morphed into a grandfather at the North Pole. But the mission here, if you want to call it that, is to understand why we let that happen.
Right, because the central thesis here isn't about toys at all. It's about survival.
Yeah.
The source material argues that this story was built by people who were just terrified of the dark.
And they needed to desperately believe, that goodness could somehow outlast the cold.
And that's where we have to start. We have to talk about the cold.
We do. Because I think for us, living in the modern world with central heating and heated car seats, we've totally lost touch with what winter actually meant to our ancestors.
The article does a great job setting this scene. It describes winter not as a season, but as a threat.
A predator. That's how it felt. The source points out that historically, winter meant hunger. It meant sickness.
Yeah.
I mean, the crops were gone, the livestock might die, and the sun literally vanished for most of the day. It wasn't about skiing or hot cocoa.
It was about making it to spring alive.
Exactly. And that puts a very, very different spin on sitting around a fire telling stories. Today we watch Netflix to just kind of zone out.
Right.
But the text suggests that back then stories were survival mechanisms.
They were tools.
Precisely. They were tools.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in the dark and the wind is howling and you don't actually know if the food will last, you need a very specific kind of story.
You don't need a comedy.
No. You need a promise. You need to believe that there is some force out there, some watcher, who knows you're cold and might just bring help.
And this is where the original persona comes in, the watcher in the cold. This wasn't the jolly guy we know, was it?
Oh, not all. Not even close. The source describes a figure that was much more ambiguous, half seen, half believed.
Okay.
This figure would arrive quietly, leave a gift or maybe some food, and then just vanish without waiting for a thank you.
It's the vanishing part that gets me. He wasn't doing it for the credit.
No, and that's so crucial. If he stayed for thanks, he becomes a person. By vanishing, he remains a force, a presence.
And here's the kicker that the article really highlights. We assume Santa is a lie, we tell children. But in these early days, adults needed this figure just as much, if not more, than the kids did.
Because adults get scared of the dark, too.
Exactly. Adults needed to believe that in a harsh, kind of indifferent universe, there was someone keeping score of kindness. Someone who noticed if you shared your last loaf of bread.
It validated the struggle.
Yes, it validated the struggle of staying good when everything around you is just bad.
So, okay, we have this spectral watcher born out of fear and hope. But obviously, a legend needs a hook in reality to really stick. We can't talk about this without talking about the actual man.
St. Nicholas.
St. Nicholas. Now, I have to admit, my geography was a little shaky on this until I read our deep dive packet. I always pictured him somewhere in Europe, but he was a 4th century bishop in what is now Turkey.
A very sunny, warm place.
Right. So you have a guy in Mediterranean robes. How on earth does he become the poster boy for the North Pole? It's an incredible journey. But first, you have to look at the man himself. The source makes a really, really important distinction here. St. Nicholas wasn't known for his power or his sermons. He wasn't some fire and brimstone guy.
What was he known for?
For secret gifts.
The text mentions he would, toss money through windows at night to help the poor.
Yes.
Specifically so they wouldn't see him.
That's the DNA of the legend right there. Generosity without the ego. He didn't want the gratitude. He just wanted to solve the problem. And as the source says, over time, the man blurred into myth.
People just loved the idea of him too much.
They loved it so much they refused to let him die.
Okay, so this is where I love this visual. The video game evolution happens. The story travels north from Turkey, through Europe, heading for the Arctic Circle. And as he travels, he changes costumes.
He has to. I mean, a bishop in robes is going to freeze to death in a German folktale.
Yeah, good point.
So as the story moved into snowy regions, he gained a cloak, he gained fur-lined boots. The environment literally shaped the character design.
And then he hits the Netherlands and becomes Santa Claus.
Right. And the Dutch are seafarers, so all of a sudden, he's not walking, he's arriving by ship. But the personality shifts, too. In the Netherlands, he's a bit more severe.
How so?
Well, he brings gifts, yes, but he also brings judgment. He's a bishop who demands, your catechism.
But then he gets to Germany, and things get, well, a little messy. The article talks about how he sort of collided with pagan traditions.
This is my favorite part of the research. You have the Christian St. Nicholas literally bumping into older, darker winter spirits, these pagan gods of the cold.
And these were not nice guys.
No. They were often associated with storms, with punishment.
So the church couldn't just get rid of them.
They tried, of course they did. But folklore is just so stubborn. So instead of deleting the pagan stuff, the story just absorbed it. The source uses this great image. Christian saints and village folklore melted together like snow into slush.
No one edited the story.
Exactly. There was no continuity director. It was organic. So you end up with this hybrid figure. He has the heart of a saint, the clothes of a northerner, and some of the scary, judgmental power of a pagan god.
So that's the slush that arrives in America. This complex, slightly scary, charitable bishop god. And he lands in the United States right during the Industrial Revolution.
And this is the turning point. The source describes America at this time as loud, fast, and restless. Cities are being built, factories are humming. It's the kind of place that usually just chews up old traditions.
But the legend adapts again.
It does. But it's not just the scenery that changed. The article talks about a huge sociological shift. And it's about children. I think we take this for granted now. But childhood as we know it is a pretty new invention.
Right.
It really is. This is a critical piece of the puzzle. For most of history, kids were just tiny adults. If you could walk, you could work.
You were sent into the fields, the factories.
You weren't shielded from the world. You were part of the labor force.
That's depressing, but true.
But in the 19th century, that starts to change. A middle class emerges. We started viewing childhood as a walled garden, a protected space that needed to be kept innocent.
And as the concept of the child changed,
the concept of Santa had to change to fit them. He had to soften.
Drastically.
You can't have a scary pagan judge visiting a protected nursery. So the rough edges got sanded down. The source notes that he started laughing more. He judged less. He moved from the church pulpit to the fireside.
He went from being a magistrate to being a grandpa.
A grandfather and a promise.
Wow.
He became unconditional. And this is really important. He stopped being about salvation in the religious sense and started being about wonder.
Okay, I have to bring up the elephant in the room here, or maybe the reindeer in the room. A lot of people, myself included, have heard that Santa was basically invented by advertising agencies. He's red because of the soda cans.
Right.
But the source just shuts that down hard.
It really does. And I'm glad we're clarifying this. The article argues that ads didn't invent Santa. They borrowed him. By the time the big ad campaign started in the 20th century, Santa was already fully formed in the cultural imagination. He was already, and I'm quoting here, real in the way stories can be real.
The advertisers just jumped on the bandwagon.
Exactly. They recognized he was a powerful symbol of generosity, and they monetized it. But they didn't create the heart of the character. That heart was built over, 1,500 years of winter nights.
It's interesting, though, because even with all the softening and the commercialization, the cartoons, the source argues that the old Santa, the Watcher, he never really went away.
No, he's still in there. Beneath the velvet, he is still a watcher.
Which brings us to the list. Naughty or nice? As a kid, I always felt like this was a threat, like I was being surveilled.
Of course.
But the expert analysis in our source flips that completely.
It frames it so beautifully. It suggests the list isn't about punishment. It's about being seen.
That's a very different feeling.
Think about it. One of the deepest human needs is to just be acknowledged, to have someone say, I saw what you did. The source argues that for a child, the idea that a magical figure knows they shared their toy or that they tried really hard in school, that validates them.
It makes their little world feel significant.
Exactly. And honestly, it works for adults too. Santa represents the idea that actions matter even when no one else is in the room. It's the ultimate integrity test.
The source calls this the logic of belief. And this is where we get a bit philosophical. We live in a world of data. We have satellites mapping every inch of the globe. We know there is no workshop at the North Pole.
Right.
So why does the Rith survive? Why don't we just kill it off?
Because you can't kill a psychological need with facts. You can explain away the flying reindeer, you can debunk the chimney physics, but you cannot so easily explain away the human desire for giving without taking.
That's the core, isn't it? Giving without taking.
That is a magic trick. In a transactional world, where you work for money, you buy things for status, Santa represents a glitch in the system. He gives and he asks for nothing but that you try to be good. That is such a rare, pure concept that we protect it.
The source calls it a universal pattern. It says that across cultures, this figure always has the same traits. He comes in the darkest season, he arrives quietly,
Asks for nothing.
and leaves hope.
That pattern is the antidote to fear. It answers that deep ancestral fear that when times get hard, kindness will just vanish. The story persists because it promises us that kindness is durable, that it can survive the winter.
And this brings us to the part of the article that actually it made me a little emotional, the invisible helpers.
Yeah.
Because eventually the child grows up, they figure out the physics don't work, and usually that's when they find out about the parents.
This is the pivot point. The source describes this beautiful phenomenon where millions of parents, every December, become invisible helpers. They step into the role.
And they do it by erasing their own credit.
Which is such a profound act of parenting if you really think about it. You work hard for the money to buy the gifts. You stay up late wrapping them. You eat the cookies yourself.
And then you sign the tag from Santa.
You give the credit to a ghost. You let magic take the blame, as the article puts it.
Why? Why do we do that? I mean, I want my kid to know I got them the bike.
Of course. The ego wants the credit, but the love wants the lesson. By removing yourself from the equation, you aren't really tricking your child. You are teaching them a wordless lesson about generosity.
You're showing them that the gift matters more than the giver.
And that generosity doesn't require an audience. That's the bridge. That's how the legend survives in a cynical world. The source makes this great distinction between belief and fact. Facts are about what is physically there. Belief is about how we choose to act.
So we act as if Santa is real.
We act as if the world is full of anonymous kindness, and by doing so, we actually make the world full of anonymous kindness. We manifest the reality we want our children to live in.
It's like we're just keeping the seat warm for them.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's bring this all the way home. We've traced him from the bishop in Turkey who threw gold through windows, to the spirit in the snow, to the grandfather in the ads, and finally to the parents in the living room at 2 a.m. What is the big takeaway here?
I think the takeaway is that Santa Claus is not a man. He never really was. He's a story that humans tell themselves when winter feels too long.
A coping mechanism.
A coping mechanism, but a beautiful one. It's proof of our need for connection. It's proof that we are terrified of being alone in the cold, and so we invented a friend who never leaves.
The source ends with a thought that I found really provocative. It's almost a challenge to you, the person listening. It says that Santa never truly leaves. He's simply waiting in the dark to see who will become him next.
That gave me chills. It implies that the legend isn't about the man in the suit at all. It's a job opening.
It's an invitation.
Right. It's asking you, are you willing to take on that role? Are you willing to be the watcher who notices kindness? Are you willing to give without asking for credit?
It really shifts the responsibility. It's not about waiting for Santa to come save the day.
No.
It's about stepping into that shadow yourself.
And becoming the architect of your own winter.
That is a powerful place to leave it. So the next time you see that red suit in a mall or on a soda can, don't just see the commercial. See the history. See the survival tool. And maybe ask yourself if it's time to put on the suit yourself. Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Or literally. Whatever works.
Or literally. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you in the next one.